All right, good afternoon. Well, it's a little strange. We're just about done. Good afternoon. Okay, take that hymnal, turn to page number 361. We're going to do a real fast I'll Fly Away, and then we'll get right into our message. And so page 361, let's stand to our feet. 361, I'll Fly Away. Some glad morning. Oh, I got to start it. Some glad morning when this life is o'er, I'll fly away to a home on God's celestial shore. I'll fly away. I'll fly away, oh glory, I'll fly away. When I die, hallelujah, by and by, I'll fly away. When the shadows of this life have gone, I'll fly away. Like a bird from prison bars have flown, I'll fly away. I'll fly away, oh glory, I'll fly away. When I die, hallelujah, by and by, I'll fly away. Just a few more weary days and then I'll fly away to a land where joy shall never end. I'll fly away. I'll fly away, oh glory, I'll fly away. When I die, hallelujah, by and by, I'll fly away. Great singing, Brother Mark. Will you open us up in prayer, please?
Thank you for this wonderful time that we had today, Father. I thank you for the very difficult message that Pastor had to preach this morning, Father. And I thank you, Father, for what he and his family had to go through, Father, because I believe he made him stronger and opened his eyes, Father, and I think it's going to make him a better pastor in the long run, Lord God. So we just thank you for that, Father. Help us, Father, to forgive those that have abused us and to look for those types of signs, Father, and to always remember that we're a church family, Father, and we stick together. We thank you so much for the wonderful time we had today, for the lunch and the fellowship, Father, and I just pray that you will go with us during this message, Lord God, and be with us the rest of the day. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. You may be seated. We're going to go ahead and dive right in. So we're on lesson 3. We're looking at hook, line, and sinker. This is the first. So we looked at what makes up the hook, line, and sinker thing. We've talked about our world. We've talked about what that is, and how we're kind of like fish in that underwater world. And Satan desires to hook us. He desires to bait us and try to get us and to try to destroy us. And he's in the business of destroying families. You know, he definitely is in the business of destroying families. When you look all around us and you see all the things that are going on in homes, and there's no doubt that Satan desires to destroy the home. But here's the thing. We look on the outside and we look at the world and we see how the world's functioning. The truth is, Satan doesn't have to hook the world. They're already hooked. They're going to follow the way that they're naturally going to go. The way of the world, they're going the natural way of man. That's to go to rebellion. That's to go to these things. So when we talk about hook, line, and sinker, we're talking about what Satan desires to do to the Christian home. So all of this series that we're looking at is not necessarily preaching to the lost home. It's talking to us as Christians what Satan desires to do. Last week, Brother Trevor looked at living preemptively. Hey, we need to start being preemptive to the attacks that Satan's going to give us, because he's going to attack us. We need to understand he's going to attack us. And the wonderful thing about the Bible is the Bible tells exactly how he's going to attack us. The Bible is a manual that tells us exactly what he's going to do. And so we're going to start into this first hook. And there's going to be several lessons in the first hook. But the first hook that Satan desires to use is to divide and conquer. Divide and conquer. He wants to divide and conquer. It's the same thing that he tries to do in a church. It's the same thing that he's trying to do at the school right now. He's trying to divide and conquer because he knows if he can divide, he's going to conquer whatever it is that he's attacking. If he can divide us as a church, what's going to happen to the church? It's going to get weak. It's going to, people will leave. They'll get mad, and it's just going to weaken the body of Christ. Well, he desires to do the same thing in our families. And so we've been going through the book of Malachi, and believe it or not, the key verse in this lesson is from Malachi. Malachi chapter 4, verses 4 through 6. Now, when we looked at this Wednesday night, we discussed who were these fathers, who are these children, all right, and we already kind of know that it's probably not talking literally about fathers and children. However, we can still apply it to fathers and children. All right, so remember ye the law of Moses my servant, which I commanded unto him in Horeb, for all Israel with the statutes and judgments. Behold, I will send you Elijah, a prophet, before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord. And he shall turn the hearts of the father to the children, and the hearts of the children to their fathers, lest I come and smite the earth with a curse. So the accelerating tendency of families in the 20th century is fragmentation. It's leading us to fragmentation. So that's what we're going to look at today. We're going to look at overcoming family fragmentation. All right? What is a fragment? Small peas, right? You know, frag grenades. They throw those out. Why do they throw frag grenades out? Yeah, kill lots of people quickly, right? Satan's desire is to fragment the family, to tear it apart. That's what he desires to do. Our culture is changing, and society is adding new pressures to us that affects our families in dangerous ways. In this lesson, I'm going to encourage you to commit to your family and to stay close as you swim against the current of the culture, because we're taking this whole idea of hook, line, and sinker. So everything's gonna go back to fish. You know, we gotta swim against the current, right? So the first thing I want us to see, number one, is the current of our culture. Here's the thing with our culture, right? Life's current critically changes for both the parent and the teen as teen years approach, and the kid as teen years approach. Things change. The older your kids get, the more difficult it is to spend time with your kids because they get busy. They get a whole lot busier than they are when they're kids. I'm looking forward, next week we have spring break, so I'm looking forward to going out and spending hopefully a couple days or at least a day out with the family and just enjoying that time with them. Because here's the thing, you know how it is, the family dynamic. You know, Renee's working, the kids are at school, I'm taking care of church stuff. Tuesdays are especially difficult because it's our busiest day. The kids come home. Renee's got teachers meeting till almost 5 o'clock. So by the time she gets home about 5:30 or so, we're eating dinner. By the time we're done eating dinner, it's like, an hour and a half till Ariel and Alton go to bed, and 2.5 hours till Eric and Alex go to bed. And it's just it makes for a day that just feels like, man, there's not enough time with family. I like Saturdays. I like to be able to take Saturdays and enjoy time with the family. Now this week, enjoying time with the family meant, hey, boys, go outside and pick up all the trash in the backyard and put it in the back of Trevor's truck so I can take it to the dump. That was our family time this week. Yeah, family day. Yes, all working on a yard to make it look nicer. But, I used to think that the busyness of life only applied to those who have teenagers in the home. But the truth is, while the pace definitely picks up with middle schoolers and high schoolers, our culture has transformed into a fast and breakneck pace at all times. Just like I know little kids that are at our school that have they go to the aquatic center and they're part of swim competitions, and then they've got little league baseball, and then you got the football, and you got all these things that's not just affecting middle schooler and high schoolers now. It's going from the youngest peewee age all the way up. and it is just constantly doing things between the scheduled demands of school and sports and music and church activities and services, spending time with friends and homework that fill the life of a child. And then on us adults, the financial pressures increase on parents. As children get older, time demands of parents become greater, and you seem to get to spend less and less time with the family as your children are busy with all their activities. Man, it just goes by so fast. Society pressures you to keep up with the standards of living, and it seems like you always need another dollar to keep up with the standard of living, right? You know? Oh man, I gotta, now I do want my yard to look nice. I don't want it to look like a weed-infested rock garden, because that's what it is right now. You know, I've got beautiful rocks. I got lots of pet rocks. If anybody wants a pet rock, come and take all the pet rocks you want to take with you, you know? And but it just seems like the standard of living increases. They expect you to have nicer cars, and now with all these people talking about we're going to get rid of gasoline cars and everybody's going to have an electric car, and you start looking at the how expensive those things are, and it's like, what on earth? You know, society's constantly putting more and more pressure on us, and it puts more and more pressure on our children, and school puts more and more pressure on our children. You know, this is a crazy thing. This is one thing I'm blessed with Agape, is that they're trying to teach a trade school, because not every child is going to go to college. But every child that goes through the public school system, what are they trying to push? Go to college, right? And you're already to the place where life is busy enough as it is. Maybe you're not meant to go to college. Is college a bad thing? No, I went to college, and I got myself an education. It wasn't a good education, but I got myself an education, you know. No, it was a pretty good education. But no, college can be good for some things. But, you know, it's funny. I when I was a substitute teacher, I was a substitute teacher for a lady that worked with special needs children, and she went to school for that. You know, it worked out well for her. Her husband went to school to be a graphic designer, which I do graphic design too. On top of it, her husband went to school to be a graphic designer, and when he got out of college, he tried to go get jobs, and he never could get a job. And I was like, but you went to school to be a graphic designer. He's like, yeah, but now I'm a substitute teacher. I'm like, why? Well, because every graphic design firm requires you to have 3 to 4 years experience in a graphic design firm before they'll hire you at a graphic design firm. How am I supposed to get a job when I have all this education in graphic design and I can't get a job at a graphic design firm in order to be able to get a job at another graphic design firm? But that's the way college works. That's the way a lot of these people go through. I knew another couple, they went to college to become medical doctors. They went to Pensacola Christian College, which has a pretty reputable medical field there. Well, both the husband and wife both went to college at PCC to become medical doctors. Well, she got a job like this. He never could get a job in the medical field. It was so weird. You know, but that's the thing. Life is so hectic. It's so busy. People are constantly saying, well, you got to do this. You got to do that. You got to learn this way. You got to learn that way. You know, you learn the way that God leads you to learn. You know, yeah, if you feel like you're going to be a doctor, then yeah, you're probably going to have to go to medical school. I don't think you can be a doctor from your home. You probably could, but then you'll get arrested and go to jail for malpractice. So, but, you know, the culture is constantly trying to keep us up with their pressure. The fast-paced current of life has the ability to sweep families downstream to destruction. We have to understand that just because this is the way culture does everything, we don't have to follow culture. That's the thing. That's something that we fall into as people. We tend to follow culture. The church is usually just about 3 to 4 not generations, but 3 to 4 years behind the culture. It's not a good thing, though. No, because they're constantly 3 to 4 years behind the culture. Well, you know, us as churches, we are slow to do things. Like, I can remember when I was in college, we had a professor, he would not use PowerPoint presentations because those were of the devil. You know? Oh, that's modern technology. You shouldn't use it. No, if it's used in the right way, it's okay. The truth is, life changes for both the parents and the teens during this critical time. If you're not careful when these changes are happening, the fast-paced current of life can quickly and easily sweep you downstream in a raging torrent of activity and commitments before you realize it. You can be separated from those that you love, estranged from those who you were once close to, and distanced from those who you most desperately need. And we don't mean physically. You may still live in the same house and eat out of the same refrigerator, but you can become strangers nonetheless. The fact that you share the same space and draw from the same resources doesn't mean you are functioning as a family that God intended. That's the thing with life, right? We can get to the place where we're so busy that we miss each other and spend no time together. Now, there are times where busyness like that happens, correct? Yeah, there's going to be seasons where you're extra busy, all right? It's been a little bit, I'm still getting used to just pastoring a church because I was used to the certain events that we always did as an assistant pastor, and I knew when I was going to be busy with things. Easter week, don't expect to see me, because we are always busy Easter week. We always did a live nativity in December, usually the first or second weekend in December. Don't expect to see me that entire week because I'm going to be out helping get everything laid out and everything going and all that. There were seasons that happens. It's okay. Those seasons are going to happen. Even those seasons happened in Jesus' own life. You think about it, right? All the busyness that was going on, and Jesus just finally said, you know what? I've got to go up into the mountain. I've got to go pray. And I'm not even going to spend time with you disciples. You guys cross the sea. Go to the other side. I'll meet you over there. I've got to get away. You're not going to see me. Of course, then the storm arises. They get all scared. Jesus comes walking on the water. All that whole story, right? But even Jesus had times where he was busy with so many things that he had to get away from that and stay away from from the disciples for a short period of time. All right? There's going to be times that happens in our life. But what happens in our society is we allow life to be so busy all of the time that we begin to lose that affection that we have between our own loved ones. It can happen between a husband and a wife. It can happen between parents and children. It can even happen between pastor and the church. I have busy seasons. It's been a busy season for the last couple of weeks. This week I was able to work at home though, but I know this week I've got several things that I got to do outside the house, so I'm going to be gone for a little bit. Those things happen. But we have to guard against that. Don't get so busy with life that your family begins to fragment because of it, right? And then number 2, the commitment to survivor culture. We're going to have to make a commitment as families. You're going to have to make a commitment to survive this culture. And some of you kids are probably thinking, what does this have to do with me? You guys have got to make a commitment too. It's not just about parents. It's not just about how parents raise you. You've got to have a commitment, too, to grasp a hold of your parents' hand and say, I'm along on this ride with my parents. I'm going to go through this with them. Number 1, underneath that, parents must determine to hold out a firm hand of stability. See, what happens is, and it's not a new phenomenon. This has been happening since at least I was a kid, and I'm sure it goes beyond this. In fact, Brother Trevor alluded to this last time. Generation X, the parents didn't hold out a harm. You just do what you're going to do. And it's only gotten worse. It's only gotten worse. All right, my parents, it's interesting. So my parents, when my older brothers were young, they were little, Dad had gotten stationed in Nebraska. So we moved from Germany to Nebraska, and Paul and Kevin, my brothers, they were in school. But back then, you couldn't send kids to Christian school. It was all public school. And they were having to fight for the right to put my brothers into the Christian school. And I know there was even a time where my dad said, he told my mom, hey, listen, just be ready. The police may come at any time and arrest us because we chose not to put our kids in the public school. Now you think, well, there's no way. Well, because why? For the last 30, almost 40 years, we've been able to enjoy the ability to have homeschool and Christian school. It's a great thing, right? Christian school is a great thing. I'm grateful for our Christian school, but I'll be honest, I'm grateful for public school at times too, and I'm thankful for homeschooling. I'm thankful for all sorts of schooling. But here's the thing. A lot of times parents, they get to the place where they just let the school raise their kids. We can't do that. We can't do that. Parents, let me encourage you, don't get wrapped up in the norms of society. Make a commitment to survive the current of cultures. Yours is not the only family that has to navigate and survive this experience. And unfortunately, many families simply let the family be drug away by the current of commitments. All right? All these commitments that we have. Things like sports, music, homework, and ministry service can be great things. There's a word there, though. Can be. 2 words. Can be. They can be great things. But they may not be the best thing for your children. Well, wait a second, Pastor. Wait a second. I can get it when you're talking about sports, and I can get it when you're talking about music. Homework, they got to get that done. No. I get it about homework, but you said ministry service. Did you know there's such thing as too much ministry service? You can kill yourself doing ministry, and it's no more pleasing to God than if you were to lay back and say, all right, I'll take a commitment for this ministry, but I can't do everything. God just wants you to do your best at whatever He gives you to do. But if we spread ourselves so thin and we start fragmenting ourselves from our family, it's not a good thing. The busyness of all the things becomes a normal separation or fragmentation of the family, but it cannot be more abnormal and more dangerous for your family. There was and I'm going to say this, I just want to say thank you. I thank you as a church for allowing me to have time with my family. I need that. I need that time with my family. There was a man, he was a good man, Lee Dye. He's a guy that was at our church in South Carolina. Great man. I loved him. He was just a fantastic preacher, things like that. He had been a pastor at one point in time. He got so busy in ministry that he left his family behind. And his family ended up leaving him. It was sad. It was a sad thing. And I've probably said this here before, but if I don't have a family, I don't have a ministry. I need my family. And you guys are always so gracious. If you know I'm planning on doing something with my family, if I let you know, you guys are like, oh, we're just going to leave Pastor alone for that day. We let him go spend time with his family. I appreciate you doing that. Now, obviously know if there was an emergency, something that was a great urgency, I would be there. But you guys, there's some churches that it's like, somebody will call me like, I stubbed my toe. I need you to pray over it. Don't you know I'm out with my family? Yeah, I don't think you guys would do that. For clarification, I'm not saying that ministry service is a bad thing. In fact, I believe that's the best thing a family can do together. To minister together. As families, I believe you should absolutely be involved in your church together. Your family should be loving, worshiping, and serving Jesus together. Yet even the good opportunities, when too many in number, can cause us to miss out on the best opportunities. And I don't know, I probably shared this before. I don't keep track of what I share and what I don't share. So, those of you that are like, Trevor always tells the same stories. Well, so do I, so just get over it. Right, Trevor? So, it was early in our ministry. First ministry I went to, the pastor was an older man, where I was a youth pastor. Older man, he's forgotten what it's like to have family, all right? He's forgotten what the importance of spending time with family is like. All right, so it's the same pastor that told me you can go ahead and go to camp. Renee's got family home. So when I got there, I was like, so what are my responsibilities? Well, I want you in the office from 8 to 4 every day, Monday through Thursday. And you can have Friday off. And Saturday, I want you to have a teen activity. And on Sunday, it's church day, so that doesn't count as work. Okay. And what I want you to do is in the evenings, on the days that you're to be working, Monday through Thursday, you need to be either knocking on doors in a teenager's home or doing something ministry related. Well, so you know what this means then. No family time. And I could tell you, even though Eric and Alex were small, and they may not know it, I mean, they've heard me say it, but maybe they don't realize it in their own life, but it affected my relationship with them. Even when they were below 1 year old and 2 years old. It still affected my relationship with them. I feel like I'm a lot closer to them now, but it took a lot more work to get close to them than it did Ariel and Alton because I actually got to spend time with Ariel and Alton. And I was too busy doing things. And again, I'm one of those people that just, I have a hard time saying no. I do. Now, there was times that I would get so frustrated. Like one time, we had a radio station at the church, and it was just a little local radio station. It went about 10 miles on a good day. And we had this tower outside the church, and whenever it would get really cold, the tower would freeze, and we couldn't accept the signal of the radio station from the other town in North Carolina. We had moved into a house. We were by about 8 miles or so from the church, whereas the pastor was 2 miles at the most. And one night, it's getting cold. It's going to freeze overnight. It's about 9 o'clock at night, and I get a phone call. Hey, the towers are going to freeze. I just got changed for bed. I was ready to go to bed. The tower's going to freeze. I need you to go to the church, and I need you to go put on our music station. Yes, sir, I'll go do that. Now, this is a bad example of being obedient because it was not the right attitude after that. So the next thing I know, I slam my phone and I throw it across the room and say, why can't that idiot just go do it himself? He lives 2 miles away and I live 8 miles away and it's snowing outside. And Renee comes walking in and she's like, what is wrong with you? He's always asking me to do things he could do himself and I never say no. It was a bad thing. It was a bad attitude and it was wrong. I'm not saying it wasn't. It was definitely a wrong thing, but there were so many times that I was busy doing the good things because I thought that's what was required of me, that I was missing out on the best things for my own kids. I don't know that I still would tell that pastor no, just because I have a hard time telling a pastor no. So it'd be a hard thing, but you know, young people, not only do parents need to determine that they're going to hold out a firm hand of stability, but young people must determine to grasp their parents' hand against the pressures of mainstream society. Kids, this is for you. Your parents aren't just standing there cynically laughing by not letting and saying, I just don't want them to have fun. Right? Your parents are there to give you a hand of stability, to be there for you, and to protect you from the things that society can do to hurt you. There's reasons why your parents lay down rules. There's reasons why they'll say no to certain things. There are reasons why they'll keep you from certain friends. They have a reason for all those things. The families that survive the phenomenon of fragmentation are the ones who look deep into each other's eyes and choose to enter this frenzy holding tight to each other, no matter what tries to pull them apart. It's a two-way commitment. Dad and mom must absolutely determine against all odds to hold out a firm hand of stability. And sons and daughters must determine to reach out and grasp that hand against the pressures of mainstream society. Each must hold to each other, swimming upstream together until safe passage is ordained. A barrage of good things will soon be squeezing every last minute of family time away from your schedule and every last drop of nurturing energy from your life, unless you determine to take preemptive action against what we'll call family fragmentation. Here's the thing. Mom and dad aren't always saying no to things because it's bad. Sometimes they're saying no to things because it's just not best. We got to determine as families that we're not going to let our families become fragmented. That means that we're going to have to say no to some good things. I gave the example before. I know I've given this one, but I had the opportunity to go to Israel. All expenses paid. My pastor came to me and said, you can go to Israel. The church will pay for it. And I'm like, oh man, I'm excited about this. But you know what? It was a good thing, but it wasn't the best thing for my family. And I asked Renee and I talked, and she's just like, because of her hearing impairment and just the general insecurity of, I need my husband home. She's just like, I'm not going to tell you no, you can't go. But that's going to be really hard on me. And so I came back about a week later and said, Pastor, I appreciate the opportunity, but I think I'm going to have to say no. And I said, because Renee's afraid of me being gone that long, because it'd be almost 2 weeks. It was going to be 2 weeks of me being away. I said, I can't get her dad to come and stay for 2 weeks. He has a job, and I can't get my family to come and swap, and she's worried about not hearing the kids if they need her in the middle of the night, and not hearing the alarm clock to take them off to school. And some people would say, well, she just needs to get over worrying. No, I'm the husband. I'm the family of this home, and I need to make sure my wife is okay. And if that means missing out on something good to take care of something better, then I better do what's better. Man, Israel would have been great. If I never get to go to Israel, oh well, I get to see the New Jerusalem. It's going to be way better anyways, So, man, one day if I get to see Israel, awesome. I've heard it's a great thing. Did I miss out on something? No, I got to be there for my family. That was more important. So, number 3, and this is where we'll start getting into our scriptures more. The family fragmentation caused by our culture. Family fragmentation is the accelerated tendency of families in the 21st century to spend increasingly less time together and more time involved in other pursuits and interests. For many, family life is no more than a pit stop, a place to refuel and rest before heading on to more important things. I got to stop by the house and get changed real quick. I'll see you later. Bye. That's what happens. Again, there's going to be seasons that has to happen, but it doesn't need to be a constant rotating door of leaving. Spend time. How many of you, just be honest, there's sometimes that my kids, they'll be like, can we go eat in the living room and watch this movie? Yeah, you can do that. But most of the time, you know where we try to eat? The table. Now it's funny in the house because we got the countertop and we have the table. And I'm always like, sometimes I'll look at the kids sitting over at the counter. I'm like, can you guys just come sit over at the table instead? I want to be able to talk to you and see your face. I mean, they're technically sitting in the same room and we're eating and we can talk. But that's a lost thing. Most families nowadays, it's like, well, I'm grabbing my food and I'm going to go out to a friend's house. I'm going to grab my food and watch TV. And we sit there and veg in front of the TV while we're eating. Getting fat. I know, but we do. We sit there and we get in front of the TV. We don't spend time together. We don't talk to each other. You know, one of the things that I determined when my kids were in the public school is I said, my kids aren't riding the bus. Now, I'm not getting on to you if your kids ride the bus, so don't be like, oh, pastor's saying the kids shouldn't ride the bus. Again, this is just my opinion, all right? This is not man's commandment. All right, this is my opinion, but I determined there's a couple reasons why I didn't want my kids riding the bus. Number one, the school system that they were going to, they did not separate elementary kids from anybody else. Everybody was together. Middle school, high school, and I don't know what it is like around here. But other counties, it was elementary school kids got picked up, middle school and high school were together, and that's how it worked. There, it was not in that county. And plus, we would have been the last stop that they would pick up, and then, we would have been the first stop that they picked up because we were the furthest away from the school, and they would have been the last ones home. And I just determined, you know what, I'm going to take my kids to school. You know what, that was a very productive time because I could say, what did you learn in school? When they were really young, in kindergarten and first grade and second grade, this is what we learned in school. After second grade, it was like, what did you learn in school? I don't know, stuff, you know. But those first couple years, it was important because I can remember Alex was like, yeah, we were learning about fossils and how they're millions of years. Wait a second. Were they really millions of years? No. Why not? Because God created the heavens and the earth. I said, how old are they? Probably about 6,000 years. Why do we think that? Because God created the heaven and the earth. And we know that God created all those things, right? Yes, he created all those things. We'd have conversations. That was our time of conversing back and forth. It was important. It was important to spend time talking to my kids. The more members you have in your family, Robbie, the more extreme this fragmentation can become as everyone develops their separate life interests. To some degree, this process is natural and it's unavoidable. Look, kids are supposed to grow up. All right? We're not saying kids shouldn't grow up. They're supposed to. You know, if your kids grow up and they're still acting like a 4-year-old, there's a problem. Yeah. Your kids are supposed to grow up. They're supposed to get to a place where they want to do things independently. That's a natural part of life. We've all done it, who are adults, who have children. I hope. But to some degree, this has to happen. I'm not talking about having this utopian society where nobody ever grows up. I mean, we're not Peter Pan. Sorry, we're not the Lost Boys. You know, we have to grow up at some point in time. I just believe that we've taken this to an unhealthy extreme, and I believe that we're seeing the dramatic negative effect upon next generations, and a generation with no moral compass or conscience. And is that not what we're seeing right now? Why is it? It's because families don't take time. They're letting society teach them what is right and what is wrong. They're letting political influences teach them what is right and what is wrong. They're letting so-called science tell them what is right and what is wrong. The first thing underneath this is during the last days, the hearts of the family will be turned away from each other. Again, Malachi chapter 4, verse 6, and he shall turn the heart of the fathers to the children and the heart of the children to their fathers, lest I come and smite the earth with a curse. The portrait of many Christian families goes something like this. Dad often leaves. He works 12 hours a day, plus drive time. Mom works too, in order to help provide a certain standard of living. Kids go to school, come home to an empty house, and take care of themselves until the evening hours. Everyone does their own thing for dinner, and by that time, Dad and Mom are so exhausted, all they want to do is collapse in front of the TV for a couple hours. The kids usually end up hanging out in their rooms, door closed, headphones on, and a video game in hand until bedtime. Somewhere between the bathroom and the refrigerator, kids and parents cross paths, exchange a quick good night. The sum total of today's exchange, less than 10 seconds. Then we wonder why things go wrong and our kids mess up their lives. We thought the church and school were supposed to take care of those things. I didn't know how closely this, I don't know how closely this resembles your family. Hopefully not at all. Right? Hopefully not at all. But it's the truth. Look, I was a youth pastor for, how long was I youth pastor for? 13 years? 13 years as a youth pastor. As a youth pastor, 13 years. Do you know how many times as a youth pastor I get blamed for somebody's kids not turning out right? Well, I just don't understand where they went wrong. They were doing right. You were teaching them right, and now they're not even following God. You must have done something wrong. You must not have gotten it into their head enough. Well, here's the thing. I get them once, maybe twice a week for an hour at a time. All right, even if your kids go to school for 8 hours a day. Even if they did. That's 8 hours a day that the school's influencing them. I get them 2 hours a week. That's 10 hours. How many hours are there in a week? A lot. A lot more than 10. I said 10 hours. Hold on. 8 times 5. That's 40. 48 hours. So that's 2 days. What are you going to do with the other 5 days of time that you have with your kids? Most of us don't spend that time with our kids. We're busy doing everything else. It's not good. So, why not take a quick inventory? Just in your mind, think about this. In the last 2 months, on average, how much time a week did you get to spend with each of your kids? Now, understand, we got some families who have split families. I understand that. Okay, that happens. But how much time have you spent with your kids in the last 2 months, on average? Is this time filled with brief exchanges that never venture beneath the surface? Or are they true times of nurture and heart-level connection? Even as you think about this, you may find yourself with good excuses why you don't spend time together. But how easily have we devalued our core relationships and sacrificed them on the altar of lesser, more self-centered pursuits? I mean, we sacrifice them on the things that are good. But your kids are worth far more than the good. What I'm describing is one of the most destructive family patterns that exists in our culture today. Nothing can be more spiritually destructive to our kids than the destruction that comes with the busyness of life. And quite often, it's not a choice between good and bad. Quite often, it's a choice between good and the best. Are you saying yes to all the good things in life only to find that you're saying no to something far more important? God makes it clear that in the last days, as people get farther and farther from Him, the product is that their hearts, parents and children's hearts, will be turned away from each other. And the pattern ultimately results in a curse. God must feel pretty strongly about this issue if He says it's going to end in a curse. We have the biblical evidence of fragmented families in our culture today. The Bible tells us in 2 Timothy 3, 1 and 2, this know also, that in the last days, perilous times shall come. For men shall be lovers of their own selves, covetous, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy. The spirit of disobedience and thanklessness that exists in this generation is evidence of an entire culture of fragmented families. Here's the thing, you might even be able to look and say, man, I see some places where I'm fragmented. I can remember my friend Eric, he was telling me about his brother. Now, they were all grown up, I mean, they're all out of the house and things like that, but they tried to spend time together as family, right? And so he had this brother named David that was big into online game World of Warcraft. All right? He got into this thing. It's this whole make-believe world that you get to choose your class of people, and you get online and you play for hours and hours and hours with other people, a game that really has no benefit to life. they said, he said, man, we would have family time, and we call up and be like, hey, David, are you going to come to dinner tonight? We're having dinner as a family. Oh, man, as soon as I get off work, I'm supposed to get home and have a raid. And he said, my brother alienated himself. He fragmented himself from us for months. For months. And he said, finally, I just had to tell my brother, stop going and playing the stupid game. Do you realize that you're losing your family? You're not even spending time with mom and dad anymore, or me, or your sister. We're all growing up, and eventually we're going to be moving away, and you're going to regret the time that you've been spending time playing a video game all the time. He finally kind of woke up to this whole idea and just abandoned it completely. That's the only way he could have done it. Because it sucked him in. The things of this life will suck you in and suck you away from the best things in your life if you're not careful. The result of family fragmentation is desolation. Listen to what it says in Matthew 12:25. And Jesus knew their thoughts and said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself shall not stand. Look, this is why I preach so passionately that we need to have a church who's unified. But can I tell you, our church can only be as unified as our families are unified. I would far rather have you spending time with your family and helping your family grow strong than to sit here and say, well, we got to be at church 7 days a week. All right? Now, church is important. Right? Church is definitely important. Again, I said it's important for us to worship together and do things together. But I'm telling you, sometimes church things can get so busy. When I was a teenager, we lived in Nebraska, and when we lived in Nebraska, it was busy all the time. Mom and Dad were both Christian school teachers. Dad had to work a second job because the Christian school couldn't pay enough for him to support his family, even though it was just Mom and I and Kevin, because Paul was already off at college. And then we had a guy that lived with us for a little while that Mom and Dad kind of became the guardians of for just a little bit of time. But there was only 2 of us in the Christian school, but Dad was so busy because he had to pay the bills. So he had 2 jobs. He worked at the school, and then he'd leave and go work for True Green Chemlawn, spraying lawns. And in the summer, he would go and roof houses. And then because he was a school teacher at the Christian school, they also wanted him to be teaching Sunday school and to serve in different ways at the church. And then on top of it, we had so he'd be working Mondays and Tuesdays, and then Wednesday was church, and then Thursday was soul winning, and then Friday was a teen activity, and then Saturday was teen soul winning. And Mom, she ended up having to take a second job too, cleaning the church. So she and I would be there Monday and Tuesday night, cleaning the church till late at night. It was busy all the time. And what does it do? It causes fragmentation. And because we have sensitive ears, I'm not going to say much, but after we left there, we moved to Georgia. My grandpa ended up in the hospital for a long time. During that time, because we spent so little time as a family, I had gotten into looking at things I shouldn't be looking at. It became a real problem in my life. And it was a result because we were so fragmented. Mom and Dad were hardly ever home. And I don't blame Mom and Dad. They were trying to do the best they could for me. But this is what I'm saying. We don't have to live up to the culture standards. The culture tells you have to have a house worth this much, and it has to look exactly like this, and your kids need to be involved in this sport, and it needs to be involved in this group, and it needs to be doing this, that, and the other. But it's taking away from the things that are best for your family. Abandon those things and go for the things that are best for your family. Because I can tell you, it took years and years and years and years to get over the sin that I fell into. And I still have problems if somebody even mentions the word of all of a sudden. And I have to say, God, help me. What was that a result of? Fragmentation. Fragmentation. It's not a good thing. It causes destruction, desolation. If you have found yourself biting into this hook of divide and conquer, you had better make steps away from it right now. This isn't an issue that can wait until tomorrow. I can remember at the beginning of my freshman year of college, we had a professor. In fact, Dr. Spencer is the one who called me and said, hey, would you be interested in pastoring a church? Dr. Spencer said in my freshman class, it was personal evangelism, basically all freshmen in there. He said, hey, listen, I just want to tell you guys something. I want you to remember the word blink. Because in your senior year of college, I'm going to say it again when you finish a class with me. And you're going to see how fast, how quickly life has passed you. And he wasn't kidding. I got to my last semester of school. And Brother Spencer gets up and says, most of you guys are seniors in here. Do you remember that word I told you in personal evangelism? And all of us said, blink. He's like, see what I told you? Look at however old your children are. Blink. You don't have time to wait till tomorrow to get things right. To fight against this hook that Satan's trying to hook you with. You got to fight it right now. Your family will change in the blink of an eye. And if you aren't investing time in keeping your family together in Christ right now, in what in what he says is best for your family, tomorrow is going to be too late. Tomorrow's going to be too late. Next week, Brother Trevor will be teaching, and we're going to be looking at spending time with the family. Let's go ahead and pray, and we'll be dismissed for the afternoon. Thank you guys so much. If you could think of anything we could do better at lunchtime, let me know. We will do hot dog buns next week. We were talking about using the bread, but we're going to use the bread at the end of the month, and we're going to have French toast for lunch. And so we'll have to figure out what kind of sides we need. Yes. Do we want scrambled eggs the last week? So if we all bring, scrambled eggs with French toast, that would be good. All right, sounds good. Real simple meal. What we'll do for that one, we'll just say bring sides, because we already have all the bread. Just bring sides and fruits, whatever you want to put on that. Syrup, cream cheese, butter, jelly, donuts. A side of donuts to go with that. All right, very good. Well, it's been a good day. I hope that you've enjoyed it. I pray that you guys have a great evening. Enjoy some time with your family. If you need some fellowship, invite somebody over. Fellowship with them. All right, let's go ahead and pray and be dismissed. God, thank you so much for this day. Lord, thank you for our church family. God, I pray that you would give us strong families. Lord, that we would fight against the culture of this day. We wouldn't bite into this hook of being divided and conquered by Satan. Lord, that you would keep our families from fragmenting. Lord, that you would keep us looking for the best thing instead of just the good thing. God, thank you for our church. I love each and every one of them who's a part of this church, God. They're a blessing to me and my family. Pray that you give us good rest this afternoon. Enjoy our times with our families, and we'll look forward to being here at our next appointed time. In Jesus' name, amen. Before you're dismissed, just real quick, I meant to grab one of these. A Wednesday night study is out back there. We're going to go into Genesis, chapters 1 through 3. So Wednesday night study is back there, ready for this coming Wednesday. So we'll see you guys Wednesday, Lord willing, if not before.